Hello there, and welcome to solving single-step algebra with just fractions. Excuse me, coming off a little bit of a cold here. This video is going to focus on two specific cases of fractions. We went over a shortened introduction to them in my previous video, single-step algebra, but we're going to put a little more emphasis into the fraction cases. So, how do you write out basic fractions? Well, if you got 3 over 6, most of you are going to know that if you divide the top and the bottom by 3, because it's a common factor, then you'll end up with 1/2. Or, for those of you who are using your calculators to do this, you'll get 0.5. But how do you get 0.5 normally? Well, if you were to read this off, the fraction says 3 divided by 6. And you do your math accordingly, and 6 doesn't go into 3, then you have to drop down to 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. Drop down to 0 again, and you get 6 goes into 30 5 times. Don't forget to carry that decimal point. Now, if I give you another fraction like 3 over 5, then, okay, you jump straight into the division. 3 divided by 5, same level of math, just different numbers. Let's go ahead and see how we do that. So 5 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. Drop down to 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times. So 3 over 5 is 0.6. Out of all these, this right here is what you should already know how to do. If you don't know how to do long division, if I get enough requests to do it, I will definitely do so. So, how does this work in algebra? Well, normally you have two cases of single-step algebra that involves long division work. The first case, which can be argued as a two-step equation, we're going to treat it as a one case for the moment just because of how much work we've done before in the past. Usually involves a variable in the denominator, while the second case involves a number in the numerator. The second case is the easier of the two. So I'm not expecting you guys to know these two cases offhand, but you do need to know how to solve them. We are going to put a lot of emphasis into this specific case as opposed to this one, just because we saw how to do this in the last video, and in the last video this is much easier to solve than this. So, first case. So let's generate a couple of basic fractions. 4 divided by some number equals 2. Listen to my terminology very carefully. 8 divided by some number equals 4. So if we start with the first one, 4 divided by some number equals 2. If we use the same methodology from the last case, we want to move the x over to the other side by doing the opposite of division, which is multiplication. So 4 equals 2 times x, which therefore means 4 divided by 2 equals x, because things can jump over the equal sign as long as you're doing opposites. So 8 divided by x equals 4. Therefore, doing opposites again, we're going to do multiplication. 8 equals 4 times x. Therefore, 8 divided by 4 equals x. Now, I know this looks like a lot of work, and there's ways to do this in two-step algebra, which looks a little nicer. There's also stuff that we give you later on, but the reality of this story is that because you have to organize these in a manner that looks very nasty, remember, we do the opposite, so multiplication of x, to help jump things over the equality sign. You must always think in terms of opposites, and we have this demonstrated more in the first video. Come on, let's go. Okay, so case number 2, this is the one every student loves. So a number divided by 4 equals 2. Therefore, rewrite this out again. A number divided by 4 equals 2. And if we were to do the opposite of dividing by 4, that's the same as multiplying by 4. Does the order matter? Not really. You guys learned this little thing called commutative property of addition and commutative property of multiplication. You can organize it any which way you need to, but it doesn't work with division. You have to be very specific with division. So, number divided by 6 equals 4. Opposite of division, multiplication. So the long run of this particular video is to show you dominantly the difference between the two cases. And as long as you have those two cases, you're set. So let's look at them side by side just for a moment. If we have, let's see here. Just a moment. There we go. So if this is case 2, then case 1 implied 4 divided by some number equals 2. Therefore, we write it out as 4 divided by some number equals 2. Again, same terminology, just keep up with me. Therefore, 4 equals 2 times x. Does order matter when you're multiplying? No. And let's bring it down here in a different color. Therefore, 4 divided by 2 equals x. So again, first case as opposed to second case. The second case is the easier of the two, but the first case definitely can give you some trouble. You do learn a nicer way of doing this in other algebra classes when you have to deal with multiple variables, but that's not what you're dealing with today. Keep track of your stuff and you will do just fine. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. And let's see here, two-step equations.